My name is Lucina. I'm here with my colleague Erica. And for those of you who don't know us, meaning us Europe Language Jobs, I'll quickly introduce ourselves. So we're a multilingual leading platform in Europe. We focus on helping multilinguals find jobs in Europe, in the European languages, but not only. We have a few job offers with languages outside of Europe, but when it comes to countries, we focus on Europe. So we promote relocation, but given how many languages we help find jobs with, you don't have to move. You can find a job in your language, in your country, wherever you feel comfortable. I will be dropping a link with the registration page if you're interested in the chat. 1 second. Yeah, there it is. And this webinar today is a part of our bigger event for those of you who are not aware. It's called 30 Days to Get a Job Challenge. I'll be dropping a link to where you can still sign up for it completely for free, even though we're halfway through. If you sign up now, you will still be able to gain access to all of our materials. Basically, the whole event is focused around helping people in need of a job find one. We provide advice concerning job interviews, writing CVs, choosing the best offers, responding to offers, all kinds of steps you need to take in order to find a job. So if you're interested, you can still join. All of the webinars and events in this whole event are free. And the event itself wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for our sponsors who are helping us, which are Fujitsu, Cyber Portugal, 5CA, WebHelp Portugal, WebHelp Spain, TTech, and Logical Recruitment. You can find all of their jobs on our job board. And now I will let Erica introduce our very special guest we have with us today.
Thank you very much, Lucina. And yes, definitely, we do have a very special guest here with us, Evelina Vilke. Thank you very much for being here. Evelina is a career coach, job search strategist, and personal branding expert. She has 8 years of experience in the field and helping and guiding hundreds of individuals to land their dream job. And Evelina is here today to present an amazing webinar on personal branding for job hunting during the pandemic. So now we pass the mic to Evelina.
Well, hi everyone, and thank you so much, Erica and Lucina, for having me. So let me just start sharing the screen and we will start the presentation. And it's just really, I was so amazed, actually, just a little bit side note of how many people are joining in from all sort of different countries. It just really makes me think how much I miss traveling. And it's really so nice. I know everybody's really sick of all these Zoom meetings and all the sort of digital platforms, but it's really lovely to connect with all of you all over the world and just sort of speak today, meet you today, and sort of kind of, it's an opportunity for me to hopefully help you with your job search. So, okay, I'm just going to start sharing presentation and tell me, guys, if you can see everything. Is everything working fine, right? Yeah, okay, good. So what we're going to do today, right? So we're actually going to talk about how to use personal branding to succeed in a pandemic era job search. And there should be a link in the chat box, either Erica or Lucina posted it, to download a worksheet, which is actually going to help you through all the exercises that we are going to be doing today. So I really strongly advise you to download it now or during the presentation and kind of sort of follow it, type on your ideas there, or just sort of use it as a worksheet for you later on in the day after we finish talking today, because that's sort of really going to help you to develop personal brand. So let me start. I'm sure that everybody is going to agree with me that COVID pandemic has really affected all of us, all our lives, economy, our social lives, personal lives, careers, but it also really affected of how we need to look for a job. If I'm honest with you, that sort of job search that you are just firing off your resume to any job position without really understanding what the job is about, whether really tailoring your resume never really worked. But now more than ever, succeeding in finding a job in this kind of pandemic era will really depend whether you have the clarity, tools, and the ability to execute consistently on the right job search strategies. Now is more than ever extremely important to make yourself the most compelling candidate in the pile. And I will straight away jump into sort of how you can do it, right? There are 3 steps that I identified in the sort of last 18 months that really made a huge difference to my own clients. And these are the sort of steps I want to share with you. So kind of the first strategy and the first extremely important step for you to take on is to actually get really very clear on the value you are going to be adding to your future employer. That's not enough. Then you need to get clear on what makes you unique. And lastly, you need to start learning to think like a recruiter. We could spend a lot of different sort of, webinars on each step, but today we're actually going to focus on the second step or second strategy of how to get clear on what makes you unique. So that actually is about how you build your personal brand. And before we sort of, going to kind of get into the personal branding, I want to explain what this presentation is really going to be about. So it's going to have 2 parts. First of all, I'm going to help you and give you ideas on how can you actually identify the areas which you can use in your personal branding. And then in the second part, we will together start crafting a personal branding message that you are going to be able to use for your resumes, LinkedIn profile, cover letters, or interviews. But before we dive in, I also really would like to introduce myself a little bit more and actually explain why the things I'm going to be about to teach you actually work. So as Erica very kindly introduced me, I am a career coach, job search strategist, and personal branding expert. My main kind of work or the sort of the coaching is based around teaching my clients the principles of successful job search to help them to secure the job they want. And my area of expertise is to work with people who are in their 20s and 30s. So either you are looking for your first job or you are sort of changing your second, third job and looking to sort of change the countries or careers. And I guess the reason why I am invited here, that I actually work with people who are interested and want to develop their career internationally. I like to call myself a bit as that I am a career fairy godmother who basically gives job seekers the tools to succeed in their job search and make their career dreams come true. A little bit more about myself and how I got into coaching. I actually sort of have, as Erica mentioned, 8 years of coaching experience so far. And I worked with 100+ individuals, and I work with my clients internationally, and I help them to secure offers in UK, Asia, US, and other European countries. But prior to becoming a career coach, I spent 2 years in recruitment, assisting financial services in London to hire and find top talents. And this is where my knowledge is coming from on how to structure your CV, of sort of really developing. During this experience, I developed a very good understanding of what companies want to see in their potential candidates, what they want to hear in interviews, and the sort of that knowledge really helping me now to really shape my career coaching programs and help my clients. After I spent 2 years in recruitment, I also spent 2 years creating career coaching programs in leading career coaching company for international students in London. I also frequently give presentations at top universities here in UK, contribute to the sort of job seeking magazines and sharing my advice there. I also sort of a bit of kind of personal fact that I myself lived in 4 countries where I had to find a job. So this experience really helped me to develop a really deep understanding of different recruitment strategies and also developed a very good sense of cultural sensitivities. And this is the reason why I specialize in working with individuals who want to develop their career internationally. And here's some companies that my clients have secured job offers from. Now, a little bit to inspire you and to actually kind of give you a bit of a proof as well that everything what you're going to learn today actually works, and to really sort of show that looking for a job, even after COVID or during pandemic era, we kind of not really, it's not over yet, but we feel like it's a little bit over, but it does have a sort of certain different elements and its challenges. So I want to really show that it's all possible to, as I said, to feel you a little bit more inspired. And if you are lacking hope at the moment, to know that, you know, you can achieve your career goals as well. So the biggest success that I've seen in the actual midst of pandemic, which was in last year, December, beginning of January, that one of my clients, Paolo, he got not one, but 4 job offers from Volkswagen, Deloitte, Johnson & Johnson, and Microsoft. And here are the sort of his own words, what he told about what really made him to get these job offers. One of my clients, Shreya, who actually was an international student in UK, managed to secure 3 job offers from companies in London. And finally, Mia got a job offer from a company based in UK, specifically in London, with visa sponsorship without actually having any prior work experience in UK. So as you can see, everything is possible. So if you are feeling a little bit doubtful, please stay on the track. Please keep focusing on the tips you're going to be learning today, and you will get there. So let's start. And I want to start the presentation with discussing a little bit more what exactly is personal branding, because we hear a lot of different concepts about it. And now I think it's becoming a very trendy topic to talk about, that you need to use personal branding in your job search. However, when you ask people question what it is and how to do it, not so many people actually are able to answer these questions. So if we're going to look at the actual personal branding definition in the dictionary, it sounds like this. Personal branding is the conscious and intentional effort to create and influence the perception of an individual by positioning themselves as an authority in the industry, elevating their credibility, and differentiating themselves from the competition to ultimately advance their career, increase their circle of influence, and have a larger impact. So to sum up, your personal brand is your reputation, which can be defined by your character, your achievements, your personality, your legacy, the way others are going to remember you, your expertise, the emotional connection you make, and simply put, personal branding is how you present yourself to others. And I especially love this definition, that your personal brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. And I want to sort of share a few personal branding examples. I'm sure these people really don't need an introduction. And if you look at the photos and you sort of think about who they are, you are going to have this really strong emotional connection, and you will know what they represent, right? For example, Lady Gaga became famous for shocking and pushing boundaries. Her personal style and personal characteristic fall somewhere between insanely unique and just insane. Now, Richard Branson's personal brand is all about being playful, adventurous, and his fun personality has helped the Virgin name extend across over 200 companies. And Oprah Winfrey is rooted in empathy and inspiring others. So these are the people who have really, really strong personal brand. But I have really news for you, that you also have a personal brand. You might not be a celebrity, you might think that nobody knows you, but you do actually have already a personal brand without you realizing this or not. And as we talked about it, that personal brand is something that people talk about you when you leave the room. So people might be thinking that you are so smart, or you are such a slob, or they can count on you because you're always reliable, you're able to finish what you started, or maybe you are really fast learner. So the problem here is that we can't change the concept that personal brand doesn't exist. It does, but we need to take it in control and actually control that perception by others, right? So that's why I focus a lot of my coaching on building a personal brand, because personal branding is the way to communicate your value you can add to the company. It can communicate your achievements in a much more effective way. And it's also the only way that you're going to be standing out in this really overcrowded marketplace. Also, when you start thinking about your personal brand, it's going to help you to determine of who you are and what you actually want. And it will have a massive benefit on building your confidence, because once you know who you are and what you want, it's becoming so much easier for you to present yourself with much greater confidence and clarity. And as I mentioned before, like for me, the key of developing a personal brand is actually taking control of how you're being perceived by others. And this is could be really used in many different aspects of your life, but we are focusing on a job search. So that's why let's talk about why personal branding is really important to have in your job search. As I mentioned before, this is your chance to differentiate yourself and actually to differentiate yourself from other job seekers who have maybe very similar job experiences or meeting the criteria of the job advert, but you are going to be adding something extra, something unique, right? And that's always a plus in any industry, but it's going to be extremely important when you are going to be looking for a new job. And also, by communicate that personal brand in your resume, CV, cover letters, will help these documents to stand out from a stack. And also, if you incorporate your personal branding in interviews, it will help you to leave a lasting impression during the time when you meet people from different companies. So now when I explain what personal branding is, and I hope I convince you that this is something that is actually important to take time off to think about, and it's kind of thinking, you can look at it as an extra tool for you to really help you to stand out and get that job that you are after. I want to talk about the exact steps that you need to take in order to start building a personal brand. And we will start with the part 1, where we're going to be identifying your personal brand identity. So this is a time, if you haven't downloaded the personal branding worksheet, for you to actually download it now, because there's one thing of listening to me and taking notes, which I really hope that you are doing this. And there's another thing to actually going through these questions and really thinking about your answers and writing them down and clarifying that message. So I really hope that you are actually going to be doing this either now, because I'm sure when we're going to be sharing these exercises, you will have some ideas popping up in your mind. So take a note of that, but you will want to take a little bit more time to clarify the message, to focus more on that. This is exactly the same work that I do when I work with my one-to-one clients. This is exactly the same worksheet that I am using with them. So again, I'm just really encouraging you to download it, and you will really going to see lots of benefit of it. So now, if we talk about identifying your personal brand, right? So what is that personal brand sweet spot, right? What is the core of personal branding, right? And the way how I defined this personal brand sweet spot, that it's your zone of genius. And this is so unique to you as your fingerprint. All of you might think that, you have very similar skills, but the passions are going to be different. Your talents are going to be different. Each of you will have different values. And actually, that intersection of all these 4 areas, your passions, your talents, your skills, and your values, that's what is going to be your zone of genius. And as I mentioned before, this is going to be something that only you have, nobody else will. And this is what's going to be a core of your personal brand. So if you need kind of help of determining of what your passions, talents, skills, and values are, let's kind of look at the questions which will guide you to the right direction to start identifying key ideas. So what passion is, right? So passion, I would sort of define that all the things, all the activities that really intrigue you and motivate you to devote your energy to them. If you are now having a bit of sort of blank moment in your mind and you have no idea what passions you could really identify as your passions or what activities you could identify as your passions, I suggest you to ask yourself the following questions. What are you passionate about in life? And you can think about any topics that you maybe follow on news, or any particular books that you read, any particular films that you watch, any activities that you do, anything. At this moment, I don't really want you to limit. And even if you have this sort of kind of resistance a little bit, but how is going to be relevant to the work or to the job search? Hold on now, just let's start, kind of bringing lots of different ideas, and everything will sort of fall in the right places. I promise you that. The other way a really good way to identify what you're passionate about is to actually think about the projects or activities or any tasks that you spend hours and hours without getting tired. This is going to be a really good indication of what you are passionate about, because if we don't count our hours, if we forget to eat, if we forget to drink while we're doing something, well, this is something that you're definitely passionate about. And lastly, think about what is that one thing that you could do all night for free if somebody let you. Now, moving on to skills, the way how I define skills, that these are the sort of skills or abilities that you developed either through training or through repetition, something that you became so good at that can be cultivated from survival mechanisms. So these are the sort of usually things that maybe not necessarily came naturally to you. However, they, through the sort of experience and repeating the same things, you became really good at that. And kind of the definition between the sort of the difference between talent and a skill, right? Talent is something, it could be, of course, a quality, another sort of ability, but it's different from a skill, because talent is something that is, if like, for example, if we're talking about presentation skills or people skills, if this is something so good, so comes naturally to you that if somebody took that away, that would no longer be you, right? So I want to sort of think about all the abilities that you have that actually really define you, something that is becoming a part of your personality or something of who you really are. So to identify your talent or talents, I suggest you to ask yourself, what 5 words best describe you? When have you been at your best? And what have others complimented you about? Now, when it comes to defining talents, I actually noticed that this is the area where that a lot of people actually struggling, because a lot of people who come to me, they say, well, I don't have any talents, there's nothing really special about me. And the problem with talents is that this is such a thing that is so naturally good, or you are so naturally good at it, or you are just so naturally doing it without thinking, and you find it extremely easy. That's why you don't really think it's a big deal. However, if other people are observing you, they don't have the same talent, they will actually be amazed by your qualities. This is why I always ask to contact your friends, family members, people who actually really know you, and ask for the feedback. The sort of kind of the task that I really would like you to do as a homework, to contact 5 people who know you the best and ask them, what do they think you are good at? What unusual skills do you have? What is your superpower? that could actually be a really huge help for you to identify your zone of genius. And if they needed advice, what advice would they look from you? So actually getting that feedback from others will really not only make you feel super flattered, because you won't even expect how many positive and fantastic ideas other people will be saying about you, but it's also going to be really helping you to see a bit of a clearer of understanding of what your talents are and what is something that you're really good at while other people don't have the same ability. And lastly, your values. And the values is that emotional currency of your life, the core principles that give meaning to your life. So there are two questions that I would like you to ask yourself, and this is really big. What matters to you more than money? And now ask yourself why. And that's going to be your values. So once you answered all these questions, and you will have this sort of space to do that in the worksheet, I want you to start listing 3-5 ideas in each category. So you might want to list 3 or 5 talents, 3 or 5 skills, 3 or 5 passions, and 3 or 5 values. And then start looking what of these ideas actually intersect. Which of these ideas have something in common? Once you're going to be assessing that, that's what's going to be your zone of genius. And that's what's going to be a core of your personal brand. And once you're going to be knowing of your area, your zone of genius, then the next step is to actually translate that and communicate that in your future applications, resumes, LinkedIn profile, and interviews. And this is exactly what I want to focus now on. How can you actually create your personal branding message? So you identified what your personal brand is. Now, how you can actually communicate to the people who will find this interesting to hear. So before you start actually even communicating your message or crafting your message, I think it's a really fun activity to do is to assess your current reputation. Remember, in the beginning of the presentation, I already told you guys that you already have personal brand, whether you know it or not. And I think it would be really important for you to actually take time and to assess it and ask your friends and colleagues, what is your current reputation? Or maybe you already know that. And once you know what their sort of ideas are, then it's a sort of time for you to think, am I happy with this message or not? If you're happy, you can build on that. If not, then there's a sort of action that you need to change it, right? And if you need to change it, there are 2 important questions that you should be asking. Who do you actually want to reach? Who is the audience for your brand? So, the sort of the way I want you to think about, okay, which industry I want to work for? Is this a specific region that I want to work in? Is there a specific company, right? So then when you're going to be knowing what sort of industries you are after, what are the different cultural norms, then it's going to be, again, much easier for you to craft that message. Because it might be, could be you going for engineering or banking industry, which really requires a completely different personality than compared with you going for working for startups. So you want to sort of really assess who you're going to be targeting, because that's what, everything what we do with a sort of job search, we need to know where's the end goal. And once we know that, then it's always so much easier to tailor all the documents, all the answers, everything to really match what other people would have in their mind, what companies, what are the ideal candidates for these companies. And the last important question when you are sort of going to be thinking about crafting a personal message is actually to think, how do I want to be perceived by others? What is that reputation, what that personal brand you want to give to other people? And that's a sort of something that you will be able to include in your personal branding message. So once you answered these 3 questions, then and only then you can start preparing your personal branding message. And the key ingredients for personal branding message are going to be the following: your specialty, so who you are, your service, so what you actually do, your audience, who you're doing it for, your best characteristics, what you're known for, and your best accomplishments, what your track record proves. And the best and the easiest way to kind of communicate your personal branding message is to actually create an elevator pitch. And what elevator pitch is, right? So elevator pitch is a brief, a very persuasive speech that you use to spark interest in what your organization or you yourself, if you are sort of at the moment unemployed, do. You can also use this elevator pitch to create an interest in a project, idea, product, or yourself. And a good elevator pitch should last no longer than a short elevator ride, hence the name, that 20 or 30 seconds. And there are these sort of 3 key areas of that you need to answer before you go into the crafting or finishing or finalizing your elevator pitch. So it's easier always to start with who you are. So you should list your name, your job title, your primary function or degree, or whatever you're sort of currently doing in your life. And that's a sort of going to be definition of who you are. Then you're going to be sort of adding ideas of what you are good, what are you great at, and what you're passionate about. So what are your job goals? What are your previous experience? What are your previous accomplishments? What results have you achieved for a company or for yourself? And what are your key strengths? And I suggest you to stick to the sort of 3 most important ones. And this is going to be your tagline of what do you want people to remember you for. So if you do the sort of exercises in the first part and answer all these questions that I kind of gave you hint about, you will actually find very easy to fill in all these sort of 3 different parts and craft your elevator pitch. And I want to share a few examples for you that you could really sort of understand a little bit better what I'm talking about here. So a chef, right? So his elevator pitch reads like this. Hi, I'm Clark Whitwell. I'm a professional chef with a classic culinary background. I love working with fresh local ingredients to create new and challenging flavors. And I'm always looking for new opportunities to share my food and my expertise about cooking. So let me kind of deconstruct this elevator pitch a little bit to show what are the key areas that really sparks the interest that would help you to create your own elevator pitches. So, you know, this person, Clark, is a chef, right? He's a professional chef, but adding the classic culinary background and the fact that he loves working with fresh local ingredients and he loves creating new and challenging flavors, it actually makes something, you know, what you would have a very generic way of saying I'm a chef into a very specific niche. He also shares what he's passionate about, that he loves sharing his food and his expertise about cooking. So that could be a fantastic elevator pitch if he wanted to reach out to, I don't know, sort of TV stations, magazines, and really would like to appear in any cooking programs or really teach or share his knowledge with the potential readers. Let's have a look at another one, at Amber. So my name is Amber Wigmore Alvarez, and I'm a talent services professional. For more than 17 years, I have worked with executives in the area of talent, helping professionals find their motivations that would lead them to success, as well as recruiters looking to identify top talent for their organizations. My passion is to improve and accelerate the matching between graduates and professional opportunities. So it's a little bit like, you know, what I do and what European language jobs are doing as well, right? All the sort of kind of in a recruitment area. So, you know, what the sort of, we can see straight away from the beginning, right? That we know the name, we know the person's title. So my advice would be if you are applying for certain jobs and the job title you're applying for really matches your previous experience, always add that in your elevator pitch It's always a good idea to add any years of experience that you have to establish credibility. And you want to add the sort of what that area of expertise you have. What are the areas that you have experience most in? What is, again, your passion? What the sort of why you do what you do. And that's going to be a sort of key of your elevator pitch. Moving on to a graduate one. So my name is Elise, and I graduated last year from sunny Buffalo with an undergrad degree in psychology. I've always been fascinated by people, and my passion is to work with people in healthcare industry. I'm a runner, and while at the track team in school, I had my leg and needed to go for physical therapy. The team at the rehab unit was impressive and guided me through the exercises that eventually got me running again. I was truly inspired by the knowledge and abilities, and ever since then, I knew I wanted a career in healthcare. It's really nice to meet you today. That's a sort of the reason why I wanted to include this elevator pitch, because if you don't have any relevant experience, if you are at this current stage of your career or life that you want to break into new industry and you really have nothing to show off for that yet, using a personal story to show your motivation, your desire to join specific industry or a company could be really powerful. So, if we're talking about this person, Alice, she has a degree in psychology, and she wants to pursue career in a sort of healthcare industry. She doesn't have any experience in that field yet. She was actually a runner, but she's sharing her personal story that by getting help from healthcare specialists really help her in this sort of on a completely different level, that she really got inspired to help other people and do exactly the same for others what a sort of help she got before. So as I said, if you have a really powerful personal story to share about your motivation and your passions, you should definitely add that in your elevator pitch. And the last one, hello, my name is Lucy, and I'm a master's student. I work part-time as a brand ambassador for Graduate Recruiter, and have recently run a successful social media campaign which increased traffic to the recruiter's website. I love digital communication, and I have read a lot about your recent campaigns using online games. I've come to talk to you today to find out if my online skills are what you're looking for and what else I could be doing to boost my application. So again, just like before, right, we know what that person is. It's just with the first sentence, which is sort of a few words, we know what the person's name is, what the experience is, what they achieved so far, and what is the end goal of why they're sharing this information. So, elevator pitch could be really used in so many different areas and so many different life scenarios. It could be a self-introduction in a networking event. It could be a self-introduction message on LinkedIn profile when you are reaching out to maybe potential employer, to a recruiter, or a person who you want to actually add to your professional network, or maybe you want to arrange an informational interview with them. It could also work as a fantastic profile or summary on your LinkedIn profile as well, that people just by glancing at your LinkedIn profile, they would straight away know who you are, what you stand for, what your future goals for, what are your greatest accomplishments. You could also use this in the profile of your resume if you're going to have one there. You could really incorporate this message in your cover letters. Of course, self-introduction in the interviews. And once you have these ideas of what are your values, what are you passionate about, what your key accomplishments and what your talents are, this is going to be also so much easier for you to craft all the future interview answers, and everything will kind of stay on brand, because that's how sort of you're going to be representing yourself, and all the skills and talents are going to be really truly unique to you. So once you have this message, the kind of last and final step is to communicate your personal branding. And you can have these two different type of communications nowadays, which I sort of already explained a little bit, online and offline. And it's very important if you sort of start sharing that message across, to actually take a few steps again to kind of establish where you are at the moment. So I really, every job seeker should actually do a brand audit and Google themselves and try to sort of see how they appear. That's a sort of, PR work that every PR specialist are giving advice to their celebrity clients. And yes, you are not celebrity, but you should really Google yourself to find out how you appear online. Because a lot of companies do love doing the same thing about the future candidates, especially people who they're going to be meeting for an interview. So that's where sort of you should be very careful about the photos that you upload on social media channels. I'm not saying that you should actually delete all your profiles, but you might want to adjust your security settings to make sure that if there is some sort of fun parties or whatever sort of personal life elements that you are not comfortable sharing with, other people wouldn't be able to find out. Then as I mentioned, you should include that elevator pitch in your CV, resume, cover letters, interviews, and when you are networking with others, well, whether it's a sort of face-to-face networking event or whether you're doing all your kind of major networking on LinkedIn, you should showcase your personal branding message across all your social media accounts. And that's a sort of going to really depend on what type of job or which type of industry you are planning to work in. Of course, if you are going to go into more of the journalism, marketing, kind of PR area, you should definitely think about having a very well kind of crafted Instagram page, Twitter account. For of course other professions, LinkedIn is going to be more than enough. So again, this sort of, there's no way kind of fits all the different positions. That's why it's extremely important to really know what type of job you are going to go for, what positions you're going to be applying for, because all the next sort of strategies that you're going to be doing, as you can see, are going to be really determined by the direction you're going to have. And the sort of last step, which is really important to think about, is your image and wardrobe. Is that message that you are having is really on top of your brand? Is that the sort of really the way how you dress and the image you have really represents of who you say you are? Because if you, for example, say that you are really adventurous, fun-loving sort of, activity person, you are very creative, and you show up into an interview wearing a very classic, boring corporate suit, that's just the ones that are in the photo, going to be completely contradicting of who you are saying you are. And the sort of the same thing, if you are thinking that you're very organized, you're very sort of result focused, you're very attentive to details, and you're applying for any sort of corporate positions in banking, legal profession, accounting, and you really show up to an interview, or all your profile photos are showing up from you being on holiday, or kind of showing that sort of more of the creative side, again, will contradict the message. So everything has to really be on point, and it has to really be followed through all the different aspects. That's what it is, a really full personal brand. And that's a sort of, what you should be taking some time to create if you really want to beat your competition, succeed in your job search. I have to say, not so many job seekers are doing that. So if you are going to be doing this, you're already going to be, on the top of that, who are going to be standing out. And that's exactly what are you going to try to do when you are going to be applying for a job in the pandemic era. It's no longer really enough to be just a good person for a job. You need to actually create this desire for employer and explain them that you not only that you match all the requirements, but you have something extra that they really need. They haven't thought about it before. Only you who has that. And now after they spoke with you, they actually have this so ingrained in their brain that they can't imagine anyone else without that set of skills. That's what personal brand does. And just to sort of let me sum up what you learned today so far. So that, first of all, we discussed that you already have a personal brand, even if you haven't realized it yet. Creating a personal brand is the easiest way to stand out in a job search. We also talked about how to discover your zone of genius. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but again, I really strongly advise you to actually take time and think about how to answer the questions that we discussed. We also talked about how to craft a personal branding message and create an elevator pitch. And also we talked about the ways you should showcase your personal branding message online and offline. And before we finish, there's one really big misconception, job searching misconception, that I really want to address. A lot of people who come to work with me, or the sort of people who I talk on social media or meet job seekers, there's this idea that more jobs I'm going to be applying, more job offers I will get. And kind of the whole search is really based on just picking one application after another. Again, just a sort of, kind of hitting the numbers without really thinking whether I can do the job or not, whether I'm interested in a job or not, but it's just all about that action, apply. And that's what is going to sort of lead into getting a job offer. And this is actually could be more, more far from the truth. And I spent 8 years coaching individuals, and I kind of differentiate these two different personalities or two characteristics in job seekers. And I call them, one is a job hunting warrior and one job hunting champion. So as I just discussed, that job hunting warrior thinks that job offer will depend on how many applications you're going to make, and as many applications as possible will lead to getting a job. While job hunting champion actually understands that there's so much more than just making applications, which you really depend your job search success on. So first of all, making as many applications as possible will never work if you don't have a job search strategy, if you don't have a clear plan. That's why when I work with all my clients, I always tell them, I can help you to get any job you want, but you need to tell me what you want. Because if you don't know what job you are actually after, then as you can see, which we very briefly already discussed, personal branding is not going to work. We won't know how to create a targeted resume. We won't know how to build your understanding of the recruitment process. We won't know so many different things. Having that clear goal in the hand is almost like having coordinates that you put in your GPS. You need to know where you're going. That's what will ensure that you're actually successful during that journey. So after you having job search strategy, having a clear plan, it's extremely important to understand what the recruitment process is all about, to understand what are the requirements. Because once you know what companies expect you to say, what they expect to hear, then it's becoming so much easier for you to demonstrate that. You also need to learn from your mistakes. A failure is not a failure if you learn something from it. That's why when a lot of people who I speak with fail at their cover letters, at application stage and interviews, it's not the end of the world. As long as you're going to learn from what went wrong and you will improve next time. There's no sort of magic here, but you really need to sort of identify what is going wrong and start sort of developing the success and growth mindset and habits that you're always assessing everything what you're doing and learning from your mistakes. You need to also rest, because burnout is real. And I had so many people who would be coming to me after sending out 50 applications in 1 week, and they really don't know what's going wrong, and they're just too tired, and you need time to reassess, learn from your mistakes, and start again. And what is also extremely important, that you really need to start developing this ability to sell yourself. I don't particularly like using this word, but you need to kind of view yourself as a product, as a sort of as a brand, right? So you need to start developing your self-promotion skills, and that all will lead you to getting a job offer. I kind of want to play a bit of a fun game with you to sort of see which category you fall in. And that's a sort of not to really make you feel bad, but because if you identify the areas which needs to be improved at the moment, that's fantastic. That's exactly what I'm talking about having this success and growth mindset, and also about, developing this ability to learn from your mistakes. Because if you don't know what you don't know yet, then you're not going to be able to succeed, right? So what job hunting warrior sort of demonstrates, they don't know which type of job to search for. They are stuck in an endless cycle of applying and never hearing back. They don't know how to communicate why a company should hire them. They have no idea how to prepare a keyword-rich targeted resume that will get them results. And just the idea of attending a job interview fills them with anxiety. And I kind of want to sort of, you don't have to share this with us, but if there are any of the sort of ideas that you feel like, yeah, that's actually me, take a note and start thinking of how can you really improve that. Because what you need to do, right, you want to become a job hunting champion. And that's a sort of the characteristics that would define whether you became a job hunting champion or not. So you need to be crystal clear which jobs to apply and which companies you're going to be targeting. You really need to be confident about your strengths and really know how to showcase them. And I think part of the exercises that we done today, and that's what you are going to be probably spending a bit more time thinking after today's webinar, will really help you to do that. The sort of a very good proof that you're becoming a job hunting champion is that you are receiving job interviews after submitting applications. So if that's the stage you are at the moment, that you know that kind of the initial steps, everything what you're doing is right. So you need to develop your interview skills, right? Because a job hunting champion is going to be confident when answering a job interview questions. They know how to sell themselves, and that's what leads them to receiving multiple job offers. So which one you are? Are you a job hunting warrior, or are you a job hunting champion? And for the ones who maybe sort of struggling with a job search at the moment and feeling that they are falling a little bit more towards being a job hunting warrior than a job hunting champion, I want to very briefly introduce a job hunting champion program, an online group coaching program that I developed just sort of having all these problems in mind. So what job hunting champion group coaching is all about? So it's a 4-week online group coaching program. And it's very different from all the sort of online courses that are out there, because it's actually live calls that you are having with me, and in a very small, up to 25 people groups. And it's a really no fluff workshops and Q&A sessions. So we are very focusing a lot on the practicalities of how to really save you time and to make sure that you don't really making the same job searching mistakes. This program also includes a personalized tailored career coaching support from me, and all the coaching sessions are being recorded, all the materials are shared with you, and you have access to all this great stuff for a year after you completed the program. And I love to call it your ticket to your job search success. So how exactly does it work? So as I mentioned very quickly before, that everything is based and delivered on Zoom. So that's, I specialize working with international individuals who are looking to develop their career internationally. So it's perfect. That's why I sort of designed having this in mind. And we'll have 4 weeks to complete all these sort of 4 different sessions about different topics. Each session will last 1 hour and a half, and in between the sessions, of course, you're going to get a support from me, and you will have certain tasks to complete before attending the next group coaching call. So I kind of want to very briefly talk about what you will be learning each week. So we are going to start week 1 with the step that I have really honestly say 99% of job seekers skip. We are going to be focusing on designing your career blueprint and mapping out your job search strategy in order to expand your job search tactics. Remember, we sort of, I mentioned before that you need to have your end goal. It's like coordinates in your GPS, because it will make your job search so much easier. We will also go into more detail of discovering your zone of genius in order to really fully develop your personal brand, and later in the next sort of weeks to really communicate your personal message across different channels. Now, in the week 2, I'm going to teach you, and I will show you how to tell a story with your resume. A story that actually shows people growth, your ability to overcome obstacles and solve problems for companies, and how your experience and values align with the company's mission and goals. So together, we will be working on preparing a keyword-rich, targeted resume that gets outstanding results in your job search. So together, we are going to be creating an accomplishment, not duty-focused CV. We will be optimizing your LinkedIn profile to reflect your personal brand. And we are going to be including your zone of genius in your CV and LinkedIn profiles as well, after we identified the key, most important marketable skills that you have. Then in the following week, I will going to teach you how to think like a recruiter. So together we are going to be decoding job descriptions so that you would understand what recruiters are looking for, so that you would actually really fully understand the requirements, which will make your life so much easier to really demonstrate these requirements in your resumes and cover letters, which actually will lead you to receiving interviews. So I will help you to optimize your CV or resume for ATS, and I will also show you how to create a highly converting cover letters. And in the final week, week number 4, we will focusing on job interviews. So week 4 is going to be all about preparing and developing interview skills. So first of all, I'm going to share proven a system of how to prepare for any job interview, which will ensure that you are always fully prepared and you don't have any surprises during the interview. We will also together, we will work on developing your ideas, showcasing your abilities, developing a storytelling technique. And of course, as I promised, this is a very practical group coaching. You will have an opportunity to share your answers and get my feedback during the call as well. But that's not it. And I also included 3 amazing bonuses if you join the program. So the first bonus is that actually you will have your CV or resume created by me. So that's a sort of one-on-one coaching where you and me are going to be working together, that I'm going to understand fully your accomplishments, and I will help you to create the content, organization, and the visual presentation of your resume itself. Then you're going to have a chance to complete a digital mock interview practice. So I use this digital mock interview platform, which is identical with the largest companies which are using these digital platforms for pre-recorded interviews. So you actually going to answer all the most popular interview questions, and then you will get personalized feedback from me about your content of your answers, what needs to change and how to change it. But I also will look and assess not only your content, but I also will look at your body language, your professional image, whether it actually is on your brand or not, and giving you all the sort of necessary advice on to improve your technique. And the last bonus that you're going to get is actually you will have the exclusive access to my curated collection of bulletproof CVs, resumes, cover letters, speculative email templates, interview answers, you name it. This is all my extended library that I collected and curated in the 8 years of my coaching experience, which will make your job search even easier because you won't have to think about this a lot. Now we probably have two important questions. So that first, when the program will start. So we will start on the 8th of November, which is going to be Monday at 5 o'clock London time. So as I mentioned before, all the sessions are going to be 90 minutes long, and all the sessions are going to be recorded. I would, of course, strongly advise you to join for the calls if you signed up for the program. But if you can't, everything will be recorded. And if you attend, you, of course, will have an opportunity to view the content if you need a refresher and just to sort of remind yourself the key things that we discussed. And the second very important question is going to be probably in your minds now, how much is the program? So there are 2 payment options so that you can either pay one payment of £550 or 3 monthly payments of £190. And as a special present for you who attended this webinar, if you could use code webinar, then you have £100 off from the full payment. So the program would cost you only £450. And this is a link where you can join the program. It's careerstylistevelina.com/job hunting champion. And you can find a lot of information about the program, why it's suitable for you, what you're going to be achieving there. And of course, you will be seeing these and even more success stories on the website to actually learn how the group coaching program helped my previous clients to get these exciting results. And this is something that I can help you to achieve as well. So now that's kind of the end of the presentation, and I really would like to open the floor for any questions, and feel free to reach out to me on social media, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and ask me questions there. Contact me on my email, which is hello@careerstylistevelina.com, or find me on Instagram. I would be more than happy to answer your questions if you don't want to answer them now during this webinar. So I would really love to stay in touch. So I'm going to open the floor for the questions, and we'll have a sip of water, and then I will be answering and explaining everything in more details, and hopefully can help you even more.
Yes, Evelina. So we do have 3 questions already in the chat.
Oh, fantastic.
The first one is coming from Daryl. He's saying, hello, Evelina. Please, how can one develop a good elevator speech when one has diverse experience, for instance, working as a finance officer, then work at a warehouse as a student, and loves talking to people to get them motivated?
Okay. The key in the sort of developing a kind of very impactful elevator pitch is not to include too much information. A lot of people feel very tempted to kind of tell everything, all the life story, everything what they achieved, and it's sort of said, financial officer, working in a warehouse, having great communication skills, and I'm sure you probably have even more things to add. The key here is to identify what the companies are requiring, right? So different elevator pitches can be used in different occasions. You don't have one that you will be using in every single opportunity. You probably need to create one a little bit more generic if you going to be uploading that on LinkedIn. But again, I would say it depends on what jobs you're going to be applying for. So if you are going to be going for financial positions and you needing financial experience, then highlight your financial experience and focus on the financial skills and financial accomplishments, and focus only on that, and explain what are you looking for to do in that area of your career. And if you are going to work, I don't know, in a kind of logistics area where you sort of want to utilize your warehouse experience, then emphasize that. But don't try to put everything too much, because with people who have multi-passions, multi-talents, very different experiences. For the person who is listening, it's becoming too confusing because they can't understand why you have so much and how they're going to benefit from that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Evelina. I thought Dara was going to mention something, but I don't think so. So the second question is, hi, I'm Fai from Indonesia and I'm 19 years old. I'm a college student and I'm a third semester this year. I've been wondering, what kind of personal branding are companies looking for? And can you give me some tips on what I have to do now as a student so that in the future I can get a job easier?
Okay. Now, what sort of personal branding companies are looking for? Well, there's this a sort of kind of another mistake in people's thinking that I see, that everybody, when it comes to sort of demonstrating their creativity or thinking about the personal brand, they want to straight away do something what they're being told. But think about this as your unique opportunity to showcase of who you are. So the only thing what you need to look into companies of what experiences they're looking for, what are their values, what the sort of industry that you want to work in really represents, and include these elements in your personal brand. But everything else, it should be about you. You should really feel free to think about your own personal values, think about your own passions and your talents and skills without actually thinking about the companies, whether they're looking for that or not. Once you identify these key elements, then you can really tailor and explain how they can benefit from that, because you know what they want and you can actually demonstrate the value. Now, in terms of what you could do as a student in order to make your kind of job hunting journey easier after you graduate, get work experience. The key thing is always about getting more and more work experience. It doesn't have to be exactly in the same industry. There's a lot of different things you can do to develop transferable skills, but you want to demonstrate this curiosity, that ability to gain different skill set while you are still studying. That will actually give you more examples to share. It will give you more stories to talk about, and it will help you to sell yourself if you have these examples.
Perfect. Amazing advice. I wish I had that when I graduated as well. Thank you, Evelina. For those asking if this webinar will be recorded, yes, it will be recorded. We will be publishing it on our YouTube channel, Europe Language Jobs. So you'll probably find it there tomorrow, but we'll also be sending it to you guys through emails as well. Now, we do have room for one more question. And then if you guys have more questions, we can just forward you to Evelina, if that's okay.
Absolutely. As I said, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, drop me an email at hello@careerstylistevelina.com. I'm here to help.
Perfect. Okay, then. So we do have one more question, and it's actually two questions that I'm combining into one because it doesn't have to do with your services. So one is coming from Simin. Would we get personalized feedback in the group calls? And then Livia saying the group calls are not fully compatible exactly with what I'm currently with my job schedule. So would it be necessary to be at the calls, or could I ask personalized feedback by email or any other sources?
Absolutely. The sort of no, you don't have to attend the calls. They all going to be recorded, so you can actually access them at the time that it works for you. During the program, you are having contact to me so that you can always email me. I'm here to help you. We're also going to have that personal feedback. I'm kind of trying to combine the answers to both questions as well. Not only during the session, which you will, if you show up and you volunteer to speak up and be coached on the call, yes, you will definitely have a personal feedback, but there's also the bonuses that I'm including, that you are going to be getting a CV revision by me. So that's just 100% personalized, you and me, nobody else included. So we will work on the time that works for you. And we'll find, the time, even if it's after 4 weeks, that doesn't have to be within this 4 weeks. The same thing with interview feedback. Each of you will have an access to the digital platform where you will be having questions to record. I will receive each of your answers separately, and I will be sharing my feedback with you separately, looking at the sort of, your interests, your sort of positions that you want to apply, and whether sort of is that matching or not. So there's a lot of personalized feedback in between the calls and during the calls. And because sort of, you, as I said, you can always access to me at any time, and also everything is going to be recorded.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I just dropped your email.
Oh, fantastic.
In case anyone wanted to contact you, but also you can find Evelina on LinkedIn. You can find us as well if you aren't able to reach out to her.
Instagram as well.
Instagram as well. We do have TikTok. We have everything. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask. I don't know if Evelina, you want to mention anything else before Lucy concludes the presentation?
No, just again, would like to encourage to reach out to everybody and ask me questions, because I really love, that's my passion. That's part of my personal brand. I love what I do, and I really love helping people to get the job that they really enjoy. I've been in a situation myself when I really hated my job. My first job after university was a disaster. I didn't really like it. So I know and how important it is to actually have a career around your passions and something that you actually truly enjoy.
Thank you so much. That's very true.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Evelina, for being here for us and for providing us with all the valuable advice. Yeah, and we hope to see you in our next webinars as well. We have one tomorrow, actually, with Eli Bottomont. It's about LinkedIn networking strategies to approach job search as a research project. It's at 5 p.m. Madrid time, so you can still sign up on our Eventbrite. Here's the link again to sign up for the event. And one cool thing about the event I forgot to mention, if you complete the challenge, you can get a certificate. You can then upload it to your LinkedIn profile. I'm sure it's a very important part of your personal branding to show that you're educating yourself and that you're doing things to improve your skills. So yeah, if that's something that would interest you, the link to join our challenge is in the chat. And thank you, everyone, for joining once again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Evelina.
Thank you so much for having me.